Okay, welcome. I wanted to introduce our good friend and it's absolute superstar real estate agent out of Vancouver, Canada. This is John Tsai. John, woo!
Good
Welcome.
morning.
So, John, just start off if you don't mind. Give me a brief introduction. Tell me who you are, what you've done, and a little bit about your team.
Great. Okay. Again, thanks for having me on. It's always a pleasure to see you right in the morning. So who I am, I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and I've been a real estate agent for now going on 14 years. And at my highest year in 2016, we sold 149 homes with two agents. And currently, last year, we sold 110 close and pending in 2019, and been the top 1% realtor and top 10% realtor here in Greater Vancouver. And also in 2018, I was named number 10 in all of Greater Vancouver. And
Wow,
so
top
yeah,
10 all
now
of Vancouver.
top 10 all of Greater Vancouver out of
That's amazing.
14,800 agents. And at this point in my career, after 14 years, I want to be able to build a bigger team and to scale and to be able to contribute to other agents' production as well, which is why I'm so happy to be contributing to Agent Upgrade as well. So thank you for
Awesome.
the
Thanks for doing
opportunity.
that. I
Yeah,
really appreciate that. I got a little bit of a sore throat, so if I sound a little hoarse, that's why.
got it. Okay.
So, tell me about your team. How many people do you have on your real estate team? And I know you're also with EXP Realty, so you're kind of growing a
Right.
bigger team. Tell me about your local team.
Yeah, so the local team right now, we have three full-time agents, myself and three full-time agents, and then we're taking on two part-time agents as well. We're working their way into the system. So, I'm in this journey of figuring out what it really means to scale, what it really means to empower others to take on responsibility and to do high production within the team. I'm still just trying to figure it out as well. So three full-time, two part-time, and also one admin and one virtual assistant that we've hired last year, which has been really good.
Okay, and the virtual assistant is located elsewhere. Is
He's
that right?
located,
Or
yeah, he's located in the Philippines, I believe.
Philippines? Okay. And
Yeah.
has that been a learning process for you as well as hiring a virtual assistant?
Not for myself, no, just because it has been Renee, who is basically the saving grace for the family. She's the rock. And, I basically, what I do is I go in, I generate business, and then I inspire the team. But everything else is actually done by Renee. So there's no learning curve for me. And yet a lot of more tedious and non-time sensitive tasks has been delegated and empowered to Tom, which is over in the Philippines.
Okay, so your team really allows you to focus on production,
Correct.
right? Great. So what will the production like for 2019, which we just finished up, what kind of volume dollars wise would that translate into? How much commissions will you earn in 2019?
So 2019, we actually ended up at just over 1.1 million as a
Wow.
gross commission. And, from that, I'll pay out approximately, I think, about 250,000 to my three agents.
Yeah.
And then to myself, whatever's left of that, and then expenses after that and taxes. So basically, I'm not making much money.
That's awesome. No, you're still making a lot more than most people would. So good job, John. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Hey,
I get it. I get
I
it.
know you've got a big dream, and I know you're a car guy. Tell me, what's your favorite car and what's your dream car?
Well, Pablo, the dream car it just scares the bejesus out of me is the a Lamborghini Aventador, and that car
Is it the
brand new.
Performante or not?
I don't even know what that means. It's
It's
just
like the M version of the BMW. It's like this,
got it. Yeah. So maybe just the entry level one. But even that one is like 550,000 brand new, right? And so I walk in and I'm looking at it, and then I look at the price tag, and it just scares me.
Yeah.
So that's my dream car, and that is what scares me the most. And this year I've committed to, June 2020 is the month where I get the Huracan, the lesser version. But even that is going to be in around 250,000. And getting a car, I'm not really a big car guy, but it's like this journey of the next thing. We're taught not to chase too much, and yet we still need something to look forward to. I've always told myself, okay, I want to be the man that my dad wanted me to be. That was like my first thing. And then once my dad was like, when he said, "I'm proud of you and you're taking over the family," that was it for me. Then I was like, oh, what's next?
Mm.
And what was next is, having a family. So now I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, and providing for her and providing for my wife and providing for my family. And I've realized that, okay, you can only do so much for the family. We're not starving,
Right.
and she has more than enough, toys and whatnot. So what does that look like to go to the next thing? You're always thinking about the next thing, and so the next thing, what scares you is what makes you grow, which is what Simone talked about yesterday, is like the growth zone, right? And then that really resonated with me. Is like, well, what does my next growth zone look like? So
And the
that's
growth
it for me.
zone is right outside of that comfort zone, right?
Correct.
Like outside the comfort zone is the fear zone, and that's what usually prevents us. And once you get past that, then you get into that learning and growth, right?
That's right.
So for you, is it, for those of you who have not met John Tsai, this guy's a machine. He's like one of the most driven and focused people. Is it I don't want to label it as a material object, but is it the material objects, or what is it that keeps you going every year, that just drives you to continue to do what you're doing?
That's such a great question. And it's a journey of seeing what's next is the thing for me now. It's like, okay, now we're chasing not so much the local, accolades, like the top 1%, the top 10 realtor. Now I'm really looking into scaling. That's the next thing for me. And what drives me is that I actually want more time with the family. The goal is to take a 1-week vacation every quarter so I can see my daughter grow up. So, the goal is actually not to work Sundays anymore, like absolutely 0 Sundays.
Right.
And to be able, your girls are a little bit older and you've seen them grow up, which is great, right? And I want to be able to have that. And we're also trying for the second child as well.
Yeah.
So that's what's next for me. And I want them to have the life that, growing up, actually, my dad was well off. My dad was well off. And, I've had the greatest life, growing up, but I didn't see my dad too much. Right. So I want to have the time and the finances to be able to sustain the lifestyle that we want. So that's what really keeps me going. It's the accountability. It's what's at stake for me every single day. And again, on the way, there are these toys that you could also chase as well. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that at all. So obviously I hear you say that family is super important. I've heard you talk about your dad before, and he sounds like he was a really great man. And then you've got your daughter. How old is your daughter now?
Zoe's a 1.5 years old now.
So he's a 1.5 years old. So
Yeah.
Here you are, top 10 agent in one of the biggest cities in Vancouver, one of the biggest cities in Canada, one of the biggest cities in North America. Top 10 agent. How do you balance your family with your production?
Yeah, it comes down to you screwing up a lot. Figuring it out over the last 10 years, working 12, 14-hour days, 6, 7 days a week for 10 years straight, right? And having the production that we want. And, it's like, oh, John Tsai's made it. He's gotten to the top of this game, and people know him in Vancouver, and yet the family life was a mess. So each and every year, just really working at, okay, if I can come home happy and my wife is happy, then that's the goal. And if I can see Zoe twice a day, that is it. I mean, that's what I want, right? So it really comes down to screwing up a lot. I mean, 1 year into the marriage, and it was my 5th year in real estate. I come home and it's pitch dark, and Crystal's sitting there in the dark on her laptop and just blank faced. It was, 10:30 at night, and I was like, what's wrong? And, she was silent for a bit, and then she said, when am I going to be happy again? Right. So, beyond anything else, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me another 2 to 3 years to work our marriage back into what was just normal. And then therapy together, marriage counseling, and to get us to the point where we have a child now. So it's a constant work and family as real estate. But I'll be honest, in the 10 years, there was no balance. But that's a sacrifice I had to make. So if you know anybody that is up and coming, right?
Yeah, as our coach has said to us, the more successful you are, the less balance there is, right? And that this notion of having this perfect harmony and balance
and I want to.
Yeah.
So that's why I want to meet somebody who is up and coming, who's not working 7 days a week, 12, 14-hour days, and be able to have that family time. As a real estate agent, I mean,
right.
I haven't met anyone, at least 2 to 3 years of nonstop, massive, never-ending action, and then they start to scale. It's just what I've seen. It's my experience.
Yeah. So speaking of which, a lot of people look at you and you're like up on a pedestal for them, buying a Lamborghini, doing 100+ deals a year, got yourself put together, you're living the lifestyle. Rewind back to when you started. What kind of, was it always this way? Did you just come out of the gate like a superstar, or what were the struggles in the first year or two that you can relay to people that are kind of going through that now to get them going?
Thanks for asking. And, it brings me back to 2006 when I did 2 transactions that year.
Oh.
Right. And, I didn't know what it took to be a real estate agent. I just wanted to make $50,000 that year. I made $2,500. And the 2 years was, it was 2 deals was given by my mentor, and, I handled those deals. He paid me $2,500 for the year. And I was happy with that. And I was like, okay, well, it's a start, right? And I was in debt. I went into debt, but 2007 was a good year because, now my friends are starting to buy real estate. I was 27 years old. Everybody was kind of like, and the pre-sale craze was just starting in Vancouver. So I did 17 transactions second year. And I was still, the habits just weren't there. I was waking up at 10 a.m., get into the office by 11. And then I would look around and be on the computer surfing Facebook. And then 12 o'clock, I'd go to lunch. And then afternoon, I didn't know what to do. And then the agents in the office would say, okay, do you want to do an open house? And that's what I basically would do. I didn't know what it took. But I did 17 transactions my first full year in real estate. And I said, this is easy. I made $100,000 in my second year in real estate. I went out and bought a $100,000 car.
Smoking like a true realtor, right? Make $100,000, buy a $100,000 car, and then you get your tax bill. Oh,
that's right. Yeah, where did that $40,000 bill come from?
Yeah.
So it got me into debt, and because the $100,000 that I earned was actually half in pre-sales. So when pre-sales, you the clients purchase into it, you don't get paid until it closes. Right. But I had spent the money in advance, right? Knowing that I was gonna get paid and things were all just gonna be fine and dandy. So I went into about $50,000 in debt, knowing that the $50,000 was still in pre-sales. I was gonna pay it off, no problem. But it didn't come. In 2008, you know what happened?
I sure do.
2017 deals, working like 3-4 days a week, to doing 10 deals, working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Because I knew, the market had just crashed. It was almost 18% in prices in Greater Vancouver, and the sales were like right? So yeah, to say the least, it was tough. I was $50,000 in debt. Then I got engaged. So guess what? I got a loan of $20,000 to buy a ring for my bride.
Oh my gosh.
So then I was, $70,000 in debt.
Wow.
A couple months later, I was then $80,000 in debt. Then I signed up for coaching. I was like, I got to do something, right? Then there was motivation. So what drove me forward for about 5 years was paying off that debt.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay it off until 2013. So
Wow.
never mind any accolades, just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Right. So it was tough times. Pablo, from 2008 September to 2009 March was the lowest of Vancouver, and it didn't do one transaction that whole time.
So tell me, why didn't you just quit and do something else? You're a smart guy. I'm sure you know a lot of things. Why didn't you just quit and go do something else?
Oh, that's a great question. I have a degree in psychology, and it allows me to earn approximately $35,000 as a social worker locally. Okay. Right? Nothing wrong with that. It's a very admirable job. And I was not able to, when I thought about quitting, there's just no way, because if I were to be $80,000 in debt and go back to a job that was paid me $35,000 a year, how long is it going to have take me to in order to pay it off, right? And I knew that I could earn $100,000. I've seen it, right? So I knew I had the opportunity to earn more money to pay the debt off. So I just kept with it. So I just put my blinders on and I put my head down and I just kept working. And, we're talking about blind faith. I just said, you know what, it's going to work out. And no matter how deep in the debt that I got, no matter how scared I got, I just kept taking actions. Right. And obviously you become doubtful in that atmosphere of, $80,000 of debt looming over you. But I just kept going. And every time I lost the listing, a buyer bought with somebody else, I actually moved forward even faster. I'm going to work even harder. That's why I ended up working 12 14-hour days, 7 days a week for how many years, right? So then I got out of it, got into coaching and got some real guidance. And then I think in 2000, so from 2009 March to end of the year, I did 33 transactions in 9 months. Right. So that kind of got me, comfortable. But then I was getting married and purchasing a home in 2010. So there's always these next things, what's next. So that also drove me forward.
So at that time when you switched in, you were $80,000 in debt, you were really kind of hitting this low, and you joined coaching, which even kind of financially sunk you even deeper, but you knew that was like the motivation that you needed. And is that when you became a little bit more disciplined and structured in your routine? Or did it still take a few years to establish the habits to get into the routine that you're in now?
It took a few years, Pablo. 2009, I was working 12, 14-hour days, but I would start work at around 9 o'clock. And then I wouldn't end until 9, 10 o'clock at night. Right. And that's when, Crystal started to say, like, we're not spending any time anymore, because 2007 and 8, that's when we were dating, and I was working 3-4 days a week. Life was good, making lots of money, taking her out on expensive dinners, and going out on date nights almost every other day. And it just it took me about until 2015 is when I started waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning, because I knew the habits of a superstar. And we've seen people on stage, even locally, what they were doing was, you just got to get ahead of the game. And I knew that if I could do that, then I could be who they are. I could do what they do and earn what they earn.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got some real accountability. For example, report to someone on a chat or you know, a phone call saying I'm up. And it was pretty scary. I mean, I put $500 on it every single day if I didn't get into the office by 7 o'clock, if I didn't get to the gym by 5 o'clock. And I lost some money because some days you just can't wake up. You're still in that schedule of going to bed by 11 o'clock and you want at 4:30. It just doesn't happen, right? So it wasn't a one-day thing. Took me years. But accountability is one thing. It's what's at stake. What's at stake is another thing, because I was trying to pay off a debt. Then I wanted to get better, right? I saw these things and these people that were doing these things, and I knew that these habits I need to build, but it wasn't going to be a one-day thing. Mm-hmm. So I just kept at it, and I kept adding accountability. But in the background, mistake was I had a debt to pay off.
Yeah.
So what's important and what's at stake was really driving me forward. And, so, you know, on a deeper level,
John, if I can interrupt, it sounds like you had a really strong motivation, right? The debt was the motivation to get out of it and to succeed because you saw others succeed and you thought, I can succeed too. And then on the other side, you had accountability, but not just accountability, you had strong accountability. And what I mean by strong accountability is, I always say, if you go to the gym, for example, and you've got an accountability because you've got a trainer at the gym. But if you show up late and the trainer's like, oh, no problem, just show up whenever, my schedule's flexible, and you could just, you'll take days off and you'll just show up late and it won't matter because there's no accountability, right? But if you have a coach or a trainer there who's like, listen, John, you're late by even 1 minute again, and we're done. I'm not coaching you, and I'm the best coach around. And then you're like, right? So there's strong accountability. So when having these accountability partners, it is critical to have the strength, right? The strong accountability behind it.
So true. So true. Accountability partners was one thing. And then the mastermind groups. So the accountability partners came from the mastermind groups that I joined. And I forgot to mention this, 2012, I joined a mastermind group, and that's to really mingle and get together with people who have the same goals. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest things that moved me forward in my career as well, on top of what's at stake and the debt and all that, is surrounding yourself with people who are doing more and wanting to do more as well.
That's awesome. Thanks, John. There's a lot of people who tell me about I want to hear about your morning routine, because there's a lot of people who, again, see the end result and want to get there, and they don't quite understand what some of the superstars and the top producers do in a day. And I know from being in accountability with you for the 5 a.m. club that you're an absolute beast in the morning. So tell me about your morning and all the way through till noon, which is probably the most important time of the day. Would you agree?
That's the time. It's absolutely crucial. If you get your morning routine, so okay, pre Zoe was 4:30 wake up. And then I would make my concoctions, like the pre-workout, all the vitamins, and then be at the gym by 5 a.m. And 5 to 6, I would work out. And then 6 o'clock in the morning, I would meditate, get ready, and I would pre-Zoe, be at the office by 7 a.m. on the phone, role playing at 7 a.m. my first role play, and 7:30 another role play, and 8 o'clock I take a little break, reset my mind, and start to, write down my goals a little bit. And then 8:15, 8:30, I get on the phone, right?
So 8:15,
and we prospect, expire listings.
8:15.
Yeah.
See, a lot of agents, they don't want to do that because they feel like they're bothering people, right?
And truth is, you are, and it's okay. But you want to be able to think about somebody that's on the other side of the phone that really needs your help. Mm-hmm. That's who I'm trying to find. And if you won't make the calls, you won't be able to find those people, right? You're not bothering them unless they really need your help. And that's my mindset going in to call the expired listing. hey, I'm trying to find somebody that really needs my help today.
Mm.
And the people who don't need my help, that's okay. And that's fine. So I'm just going to say, you know what, next call, that's okay. If they're going to yell at me and it's not about me, it's about them, what they're going through, I'm just going to keep moving forward. So I would talk to 10 people on average every hour, and I would go until noon. So it would be 10 real estate conversations every hour until noon. And then I would go for lunch, right? And now within that, after every 50 minutes approximately, I would take a mindset break just to reset a little bit, drink a bit of water, and read a little bit to kind of strengthen my mindset. Because God knows, I mean, in real estate, your morning is like this, your mindset is going like this. And also it could be what's happening in your real estate career. Your deal is accepted and then deal falls through, and client's really happy with you, another client is yelling at you. So all these things are like this in the morning, and yet if your actions are like this consistently for many years on out, then your results will be like this as well. Not results, but your paychecks will be consistent. Yeah.
So you're
And
saying, what I hear you saying is that if your emotions are like this, your paychecks are like this. If your emotions are more like this, your paychecks are more like this.
You got it. Yeah. Thanks for recreating that.
That's awesome. Oh, that's really good. So, we know a little bit about your morning routine now and how you kind of manage everything. So new realtors or realtors who are maybe a little bit off track now, and this is like the biggest issue in the industry, in my opinion, is realtors who got excited, got fired up. They've been doing work. They've been doing some transactions, but they just feel like they're a little off track. They're not focused. What advice do you give for realtors who want to refocus, re-energize, and get back in the game?
Go to events.
Go to events.
Go to events. Whatever is going to be, that's going to give you energy. Or go for a trip. If you're not going to go to events and get re-inspired by what other people are doing, or the speaker that's going to fire you up, go for a trip. If you're in a funk, go on a trip. Book a trip, then you start to see your results boosted. Right? You ever book a trip, Pablo, and then all of a sudden all the deals start coming in?
Right. As I always say to my clients, if you want to get an offer, just go on a cruise where you're so far away from cell phone reception, you'll get an offer on your property, right? And the same thing with realtors. If you want to get
exactly, it's like a Murphy's Law.
You want to get an offer on your deal, go on vacation. You'll get an offer, right?
Exactly. So go on vacation and you'll start to, it's sort of like when you commit to something, you only have a certain amount of time. You have something to look forward to, then you become so much more efficient. Scientifically, that's just a fact. And then there's just something in the background, quantum physics or whatever. It's just, things just start happening. For some reason, it just starts happening. So either go on a trip or go to an event, get re-inspired, get your head back in the game, and you'll come back refreshed.
Got it. John, I'm going to wrap it up. I think that this was so valuable. I think people really got a tremendous amount from what you have to offer and inspiring. I know that with our group, you do kind of a half-hour coaching session every week, which is just inspiring and awesome. And John, you're just a giver. So thank you so much for doing this. I wish you continued success for 2020. I know it's going to be awesome, and I'm really enjoying going on this ride with you. Thank you for just giving your time and energy to so many people and being such an inspiration for everyone.
Thank you. And all the best to Agent Upgrade. You guys are doing such a phenomenal thing for the community, and we can't thank you enough.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Have a wonderful day. I hope everybody learned a lot.